In today's video, we want you to avoid making some common mistakes during your visit to Madrid. Part of the advice we're about to share can be applied to other cities too. Part is specific to Madrid. Hola, hello, I am Tony Galvez and this is Road Trip Spain and Portugal, where we help you plan the perfect trip with practical information and insider tips. Be very welcome to the channel. In the video description we will provide links to all the videos and resources mentioned throughout the program. Let's go through the mistakes you should avoid. Mistake number 1, not spending enough time in Madrid. In the video with our basic guide to Madrid, we discuss how many days you should spend in the city, and the message is quite simple: the more days, the better. In addition to being a city with a lot of content, it has an incredible series of day trips such as Avila, El Escorial, Segovia or Toledo. And to visit all these places, you need time. If you spend too little time in Madrid, you will return home with a feeling that you have done everything in a hurry and missed many interesting places. Do you want a leisurely visit to the city? Spend 5 nights there so that you have 4 full days, and add a day for each day trip you want to do. The second mistake would be not researching the time of the year when you are going to visit Madrid. Madrid enjoys, or suffers depending on how you look at it, a continental Mediterranean climate with well-defined seasons. It can get quite cold in winter, even snowing, and it will get very hot in summer with temperatures exceeding 40 degrees Celsius when there's a heat wave. In the Madrid guide mentioned above, we talked about the average temperatures in the city month by month, so take a look. Madrid can be visited all 12 months of the year, but study the weather carefully so you can adjust your clothing to the city's conditions. In times of climate change, our advice is to wait about 5 days before you travel for a reliable weather forecast so you can pack for the next few days. Mistake 3, staying far from the center to save money. It is not the first time, nor it will be the last, that we mention this mistake in the channel. Staying far from the center with the sole aim of saving money can be a mistake, especially in Madrid where distances are big. We are not saying that you can't stay far away. What we want is that when making this decision, in addition to analyzing the cost of accommodation, you consider 2 other variables: expenditure on public transport to and from the hotel every day. A couple will spend at least 4 transport tickets per day, and the time wasted to get to and from the hotel every day. Look, there are people from whom their own time has no value at all. For us, it does. If you are one of those who think your holiday time is as valuable as the time you spend working, do an easy calculation. Price your free time at an hourly rate and add that amount to the calculation of the cost of staying far away. In Madrid, in more remote locations, you can lose between 2 and 3 hours per day getting to and from the hotel. Now, if the maths work out for you, if the hotel is really cheap, go ahead and book it. We've done it many times before, although less and less often. And if you are interested in knowing the best regions to stay in Madrid, don't miss the channel's video on the subject. Mistake 4, renting a car. Renting a car to drive around Madrid is a huge mistake. You'll have to study the traffic restrictions for private vehicles to understand where you can drive without being fined. You'll have to leave your car in a pay car park that won't be very cheap, and you may spend part of your holiday in endless traffic jams. Madrid's public transport network is excellent, but if you prefer the comfort of a private car, use taxis. It will be faster, more comfortable and cheaper than a hired car. Mistake 5 is letting Madrid museums overwhelm you. Madrid has an exceptional collection of museums, starting with the Prado, the Reina Sofia and the Thyssen-Bornemisza, and continuing with the 20 or so museums we talked about in the video we dedicated to the best museums in Madrid. It's crazy. But you shouldn't feel obliged to visit museums. Museums are visited by those who want to visit them and feel like doing so. If you prefer to spend your time eating, strolling through the parks or doing anything else, no problem, it's your holiday. Don't feel obliged either to spend 6 hours in the Prado Museum. It has been more than researched that the brain switches off after a time spent looking at works of art. If you want to enter the Prado Museum for an hour just to contemplate several masterpieces, go ahead, that's an excellent idea. Museums, including those in Madrid, are to be enjoyed, not to be suffered. Another mistake related to museums is not booking your free visit to El Prado. For those who want to save money, the free opening hours for some attractions are sensational, even if you know that you are probably going to have to wait in a queue for a long time. But be warned, don't arrive at the free opening hours of the Prado Museum without having booked your ticket in advance. That's because without that pre-booked ticket, you won't get into the museum. We have already seen people who spent probably 2 hours in line for the free opening hours, and when they got to the door of the museum they had to go back because they didn't have a ticket. You can get the ticket online or at the ticket office earlier that day or the day before. Another mistake related to museums would be to visit a museum on a rainy day. Museums look like the perfect idea for a rainy day, and they are. But the problem is that you, your cousin, the neighbor's dog, every single tourist in Madrid knows that. The longest queues we've seen to get into museums in Madrid were not during free opening hours but on a rainy day. It's raining and you want to go to the museum, do it, but try to arrive at the first time of the day so you don't lose valuable time in a queue. Mistake: eating at the Plaza Mayor. Most cities have their tourist traps. In Barcelona it's Las Ramblas, in Madrid it's the Plaza Mayor. That is, don't get us wrong. We're not talking about Plaza Mayor as a public space, which is beautiful and you should visit it, but as a place to eat. If you care about prices, don't eat in the restaurants in the square. A new mistake: using public transportation with bulky luggage. Madrid's public transportation is very good, especially out of the airport, but many people tend to forget 3 things. The first is that getting on a metro or train with luggage is not the same as without. Especially from a safety point of view, when you get off a train carriage with a high step with luggage in a crowded station, you become an easy target for pickpockets. The second is that there are stations in the Madrid metro network where you will have to walk up the stairs. And the third is that on Madrid buses, with the exception of those leaving from the airport, you cannot take large luggage on board, only cabin-sized suitcases. If you want to take advantage of the free line 001 and don't miss the video, you will only be able to do so with light luggage. Therefore, consider the possibility of leaving the airport by taxi if you are traveling with large luggage. You are not obliged to do so, we just suggest you consider it. It will be a bit more expensive, but you will start your trip in a relaxed way, remembering that the taxi to the center of Madrid has a fixed price. Mistake: embarking on absurd day trips. There are companies that offer trips visiting in the same day Segovia and Toledo, or going to Toledo for half a day. Don't do it. I'm sorry to use the word, but it is a kind of junk tourism that we should start to rethink. A tourism where you spend more time going back and forth than at the destination. You will have heard it from us more than once. Less is more. Travel at a leisurely pace. Slow down, get to know the places you visit. Toledo deserves a full day at least, and you'll be short of time. And Segovia also wants you to dedicate a day to it. If you don't have time to go to Segovia and Toledo, Avila and Toledo, or any other combination, take your pick. Better to see one place well than 2 places badly. Another mistake is trying to have early lunch or dinner. If you find a restaurant in Madrid, and we're not talking about fast food here, that serves lunch at 12 and dinner at 7 p.m, you can be sure that it is a place for tourists. Although Madrid is a very touristy city, and although many places try to adapt to foreigners' schedules, with, for example, continuous cooking between lunch and dinner, it is normal for traditional restaurants where locals go not to start serving lunch at the earliest at 1 p.m. and dinner at 8:30 p.m. Another restaurant-related mistake: eating at a restaurant offering sangria and paella. We have already talked about sangria on the channel, take a look at the video, and we assure you that a restaurant advertising paella and sangria is going to serve an inferior product for a special price for tourists. Want to eat paella? Find an arroceria. And another thing, we don't usually have paella for dinner, it's a heavy meal that we leave for lunchtime. Mistake not paying enough attention to your personal belongings. Just because walking the streets of Madrid day or night is delightful doesn't mean you should relax completely when it comes to personal safety. The main threat is pickpocketing, and pickpockets know where tourists are. So be careful with your documents, with your money, and with your mobile phone. Always keep them close to your body in a place that it is difficult to access. Be especially careful on public transport and in restaurants. Another mistake is being impatient at restaurants. If you live in a country where service is characterized by efficiency and friendliness, you may be shocked to discover that this is not always the case in Madrid. Service can be efficient and friendly, but can be slow and unfriendly. Don't let that frustrate you. It's not personal, don't take it too hard. When it's time to pay the bill, remember the video on tipping, where we explain that tipping in Spain is a reward for good service. Another mistake is not going beyond the center of Madrid. Madrid's historic center is very interesting and it's natural to want to explore it at your leisure. But don't forget that there are very interesting places all over the city, from the Casa de Campo to the Salamanca neighborhood, from the Chamberí district to the magnificent Madrid Rio Park. And finally, not planning your stay in Madrid would be a huge mistake. Organizing a trip is more complicated than it seems, but having even the most basic program is the secret to make it the most of your trip. Study Madrid carefully and plan your steps carefully as well. Pay special attention to the opening times of the places you want to visit and also to their locations to avoid unnecessary journeys. And as always, if you have any questions, take advantage of the comments box to ask. If you found the video useful and want to leave us a thumbs up, we'll be grateful, and even more so if you dedicate a super thanks to our work. You will now see on the screen our basic guide to Madrid with everything you need to know to plan a perfect trip to the Spanish capital. We'll be back next week with another video with travel tips. Até mais, hasta la próxima, see you soon!